Well, the Dead Sea is a natural wonder, a biblical landmark, and a mineral treasure. But this unique body of water is getting smaller. And as Chris Mitchell reports, some experts fear the Dead Sea could be drying up. Take a look.
The Dead Sea is coming back to life. I'm not speaking symbolically. I'm not talking about spiritual metaphors. Photographers have captured proof. Scientists have tested the water. Fish, living, breathing fish, are swimming in freshwater pools that shouldn't exist. This is the most lifeless place on planet Earth, 10 times saltier than the ocean. Nothing survives there. Nothing. Until now. And a prophet who lived 2,500 years ago wrote down exactly what would happen. Word for word, detail for detail. The prophecy is unfolding, right now, in our generation. Let me show you just how impossible this is. The Dead Sea sits at the lowest point on Earth's surface, more than 1,400 feet below sea level, trapped between Israel and Jordan, stretching nearly 30 miles long. The Jordan River flows into it, but nothing flows out. And the desert heat evaporates millions of gallons every single day. And what's left behind? Salt. Thick, crushing layers of salt. The water here is 10 times saltier than any ocean. Your body floats on the surface because the density is so extreme. One gulp can make you violently sick. For thousands of years, people called it the Sea of Death, the Sea of Salt. Scientists have studied it, tested it, confirmed it. Their conclusion? Life cannot exist here. Fish die instantly. Plants wither. Even bacteria struggle to survive. But that was before someone opened an ancient scroll and read what was written there. Around 2,500 years ago, a Hebrew prophet named Ezekiel was given a vision. He saw a future temple in Jerusalem, glorious, restored, holy, and flowing out from beneath that temple was a river, not a trickle. A massive, powerful river that grew deeper and wider as it moved eastward toward the desert. Listen to what Ezekiel wrote in chapter 47, verse 8. These waters flow toward the eastern region and go down into the valley. When they enter the sea of stagnant waters, the waters will become fresh. The sea of stagnant waters. Scholars agree. He's talking about the Dead Sea. But Ezekiel didn't stop there. Verse 9 says, "Every living creature that swarms will live wherever the river goes. There will be very many fish, for these waters go there so that the sea water becomes fresh. Everything will live where the river goes." Very many fish in the Dead Sea. For centuries, people read those words and wondered, was this symbolic? A spiritual picture of God's healing power? Or could Ezekiel have been describing something that would actually and physically happen? We now have an answer. Over the past few decades, the Dead Sea has been shrinking. Climate change, water diversion. The Jordan River barely flows anymore, and as the waterline drops, something strange started happening. Sinkholes, massive craters opening up along the shore, hundreds of them. The ground literally collapsing as underground salt deposits dissolve. Scientists went to study the damage. Geologists, environmental researchers, photographers documenting the destruction. And that's when they saw it. Freshwater pools forming inside the sinkholes. Clear water. Not salty. Not mineral heavy. Fresh. And then someone looked closer. Fish. Yes, real fish. Swimming in pools just yards away from water, so toxic nothing should survive. A photographer named Noam Bedein captured it on camera. Ted, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. "It's a miracle," he said. Prophecy coming to life. The images went viral. fish darting through crystal-clear pools, small crabs crawling along the edges, green plants sprouting from the mud. Scientists tested the water. Freshwater springs were bubbling up from underground, diluting the salt, creating pockets of life, exactly where Ezekiel said they would appear. But how is this possible? These aren't random puddles. These are sustained ecosystems. The fish species found include small minnows and tilapia, the same kinds that live in the Jordan River and the Sea of Galilee. Somehow, underground freshwater streams are flowing beneath the Dead Sea region. When sinkholes open, these streams are exposed. The fresh water doesn't mix with the hypersaline Dead Sea. It pools separately. It creates habitats. Scientists call it a geological anomaly, a rare environmental phenomenon. But Bible believers see something else entirely. Ezekiel's prophecy didn't say the entire Dead Sea would become fresh overnight. He said the waters would become fresh where the river goes. These pools, they're appearing on the western shore, the side facing Jerusalem, exactly where Ezekiel's prophetic river would flow. And Ezekiel even wrote in verse 11, "But the swamps and marshes will not become fresh. They will be left for salt." Mixed zones, fresh and salt side by side, just like what we're seeing today. This isn't just about fish returning to a lifeless sea. This is about God's promises breaking into our reality. The Dead Sea has stood for thousands of years as a symbol of judgment. It marks the area where Sodom and Gomorrah once stood before fire rained from heaven. Death, desolation, a monument to sin's consequences. But Ezekiel's prophecy speaks of restoration, healing, life returning to what was cursed. And it's happening now, in the same generation that saw Israel become a nation again in 1948. The same generation watching Jerusalem come back under Jewish control. Jesus told his disciples in Luke 21:28, "When these things begin to take place, stand up and lift up your heads, because your redemption is drawing near." What things? Signs, prophetic markers, events that signal God's timeline is moving forward. Israel's rebirth was one. Jerusalem's restoration was another. And now, the Dead Sea coming back to life. These aren't coincidences. These are fingerprints. God marking time. And showing us His Word is alive and active. But there's something even more profound happening here. Ezekiel's vision wasn't just about water and fish. He saw trees growing along the riverbanks. Trees that never stopped producing fruit. Trees whose leaves brought healing. Chapter 47, verse 12. Their fruit will be for food, and their leaves for healing. This is Eden language. Paradise restored. And it points to something far greater than environmental recovery. The river in Ezekiel's vision flows from the temple, from the presence of God. Many prophecy scholars believe this vision describes the millennial kingdom, the 1,000-year reign of Christ on earth after His return. If that's true, then what we're seeing now isn't the fulfillment. It's the foreshadowing, a preview, a taste, God giving us a glimpse of what's coming. And if He's showing us previews, how close are we to the main event? The religious leaders in Jesus' day missed His first coming because they weren't watching the signs. They knew the prophecies. They had the scrolls, but they didn't recognize the moment when it arrived. We don't have that excuse. The signs are here. The Dead Sea is changing. Israel is regathered. Jerusalem is restored. Creation itself is groaning, pushing toward something. And somewhere in the desert, Fish are swimming where nothing should live. If God can bring life to the Dead Sea, what else is he about to do? Are you watching?